Hey everybody, welcome to the SongSpark First Listen. My name is Jason, and today we have a very special treat for you all. We're going to be conducting an interview with my good friend, Mr. Jude Capanna. And Jude has been a friend of mine for a few years now. We met through the SongSpark group on Facebook, and ever since then, Jude and I had been making music and just helping each other and supporting each other. So I'm very proud of him for releasing a new album called Tentacles. So we're going to bring Jude in.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jason. Really happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, Jude has been doing music for a while, and we met through social media, like so many of us here in the SongSpark and Create, Record, Release groups. Jude, for those of us who maybe don't know you or we kind of sort of know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, just Jude the person?
Sure. Okay. Yep. I do make music as a hobby on the side. I do have a day job. I am a designer specifier for a commercial furniture company out of Philadelphia. We live in southern New Jersey. We live on the Rancocas Creek. I do have a wife and a young son who will be 15 next year. I'm 53 years old, and I've been making music in a very amateur way since recording since maybe 10 or 12 years now. But playing guitar since I was 13, but never very dedicated. But just kind of collecting instruments and jamming when friends came over. And I didn't really start writing music or writing songs until, like I said, about 10 or 12 years ago.
Awesome, fantastic, man. Um, cool. Yeah. So I think like so many of us, we're real people. We have our day jobs, we have our families, and a lot of us thought or think more of music as sort of like a hobby, or a second gig, and just technology has sort of maybe brought that hobby out into the world, maybe a little bit more than what was possible before, So we're glad that you're able to share your music with us, and why don't we do a little bit of that right now? We'll listen to the first track off of your album, and it is called Crooked. All right. And we are back. Jude, that was a fantastic song. I was just thinking how much I enjoyed the vocals on that one. They're crystal clear. It just sounds so good, man. I enjoyed all the little background. I don't know if they're synthesizers or all the little things that I'm hearing, very immersive, like out of both cans in my headphones. Just really sounds great, man. It sounds like it was a lot of fun to put together.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm very proud of that tune. That's kind of the song that started the whole record for me because it's an older song. And I was just going through my YouTube channel, and I'm not one for likes or looking at the numbers, but I saw that it had like two likes. And like I said, it's an older song, and I don't do much great promotion for myself, but I figured, you know what, let me just share this song out. It needs a little bit more love than that. And lo and behold, Mike Haggith heard it, and he responded by, dude, if you have 7 or 8 more songs like this, we can put out an album. And I said, I have hundreds of songs like this. It's for you to decide if they're, as good as this or, the quality of this. And so he went through all of my songs on YouTube and picked maybe 9 or 10, of which I may have had an issue with two. And we kind of worked back and forth to swap those two out. And that's how the record started, by this song. And I'm happy that he made it the first track. Mike did all the sequencing. That was always something, over the years I've had people ask for an album, and I could never pick the songs. It's just so difficult for me to decide a song's worthy or decide a song's not worthy. So he did that hard heavy lifting of selecting the tracks and then sequencing them as well. So I was really happy that that made the opening track.
Oh, that is fantastic, man. So you met Mike through, I'm assuming you met him through a social media group, or was he one of your buddies from before?
I met him through social media. It's, they all kind of blur together. A lot of times I don't even notice which group I'm seeing these posts through. It might have just been an open channel, but more specifically through a buddy called Tobias H. Reese. He and I have been friends now for several years. Again, met in the social media groups, musical centric. And he's been a great friend and just a great musical partner where we share new works back and forth, and he'll give me some mixing advice. And then he had started a record with Mike. And so through that, I guess that trust of, the recommendation, it started from there.
That's awesome, man. Since we're kind of diving into a little bit of the history, behind the album and the folks involved, can you tell us a little bit maybe about how you first got started in music? Did someone or something kind of inspire you to get started or involved in music in some way?
That's a great question. It's a little bit of a story. I'll try to go through it as quickly as I can. Like I said, I've been playing music in a very amateur way and not writing songs, just kind of jamming and noodling and playing guitar. And in 2010, my uncle, who was a young uncle and a really good friend, lived locally and constantly. He was my inspiration, really. He had been recording his own original songs on double tape decks and overdubbing himself on cassette tapes all through the 80s and 90s, and always showing his new music to me. But he passed away. He was only 47 when he died, and it was New Year's Day, 2010, and it was just devastating for me because I lost a good friend, I lost an uncle, I lost a musical partner. But I inherited his Zoom recorder and all of his CDs that he made, and all of his other music, that he liked. He was a big Cheap Trick fan. We didn't have the same musical taste. He was more of a punk guy, where I was more of a psychedelic bluesy guy. But inheriting that Zoom recorder and figuring it out, I think for the first year I just kind of jammed with myself. And that was cool because I can now, overdub myself and just learn that. And then I had a good friend who was putting out a CD at the time, and I would share my little overdub tracks with him, and he would say, "That's pretty cool, but they're not really songs." And that I took as a challenge, and I started trying to write songs. And I got a guitarlele. Actually, Santa Claus got me and my son a guitarlele. And if you don't know what that is, it's like a ukulele-sized guitar, 6 strings. It's tuned to A, so as if you had your capo on the 5th fret. And it's a great little learning guitar. And my son played it for a few minutes, and then I took it, and he never saw it again. And I started writing songs. For some reason, I credit my uncle, probably writing his music through me. And also that guitarlele, for some reason, it was small enough to keep in my lap and be able to still type out lyrics on the computer without having to put it to the side. And just that little element. And my first song was Guitarlele for Christmas. And my cousin and my good friend, it was just those two that I would share music with. They were very encouraging and they loved it. So that just kept me going. And then I discovered Facebook and started sharing music through original music groups. And I feel like all throughout I call it a career, there's been someone kind of pushing me on. And early on, there was a guy named Sean McGinnis, who I'm still friends with on Facebook. He lives down in Florida, just, went through the hurricane. And he kept pushing me to get GarageBand, kept saying, Jude, you would be excellent on GarageBand. I really struggled with that Zoom recorder because it's just a box. There's no real screen. And so I finally splurged, took out whatever the financing is to get a MacBook, $2,000 for however long it took me to pay it off. But that got me into GarageBand. And then, so he was right. It was just an amazing thing to move to that DAW and have the ability to chop things up and loop myself, which is really part of my process. It was a game changer. And so then there was John Thomas Hall, who, he and I started collaborating together, and he kept saying, dude, you got to get Logic. And so I was only in GarageBand for like a year, maybe a year and a half. And then I moved to Logic quickly. And it's just been going and going since then.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how, whether it be a friend or a family member, there's such a formative process, for us musicians. Like, for example, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing right now is because of my dad. My dad was a band director and a musician, and he was always my guy who I shared my music with, my thoughts, my interests, and he would always give me great feedback, and he was always willing to lend his ears and offer a kind word and a supportive word. When he passed away, it was like, okay, I need to carry this on. I need to do this, and I fall very short of the tree. My dad he was just outstanding and great at all of that. But I kind of feel like I need to carry the torch, so, but that's an awesome story, man. I'm glad to hear that there's so many people that you have in your life that have been so supportive of your musical interests, and that's fantastic. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to listen to another song off of Jude's album. This one is called Ink.
Your mind is dark. I like the way you think. Tell me another one, but first I need a drink. Your heart is cold. I can feel it from here. With the vibe that you're giving off, you're not making it clear. You're dragging me down. We're starting to sing. Things are getting murky and dark. Dark as ink. Your mind is dark. I like the way you think. Tell me another one, but first I need a drink. Your heart is cold, I can feel it from here. With the vibe that you're giving off, you're not making it clear. You're dragging me down, we're starting to sing. Things are getting murky and dark, dark as ink. Things are getting murky and dark, dark as ink.
All right. So again, that was Ink, song off of Jude's new album, Tentacles. All right, let's get back to our interview. Okay, so tell us a little bit, Jude, about this release. Obviously, you know, congratulations are in order. You released it, I think, a few months ago, maybe. What can you tell us a little bit about this album?
Well, like I said earlier, it's really songs from like the past maybe 5 years or so. And Mike Haggith, who heard that first song, Crooked, was really excited about that song and said, you know, if you have 7 or 8 more like this, we can put out an album. So we started working on the songs, the track sequence. And during that time, this song came out. And, you know, I shared it on social media, and Mike right away said, dude, this has to go on the album, which made me feel great because it wasn't all just songs from the past. It was now a song from the present. So just in terms of my, you know, confidence of like, okay, so it's not just I got lucky and made these 7 or 8 good songs a couple years ago. It's still happening. And so that was just such a great feeling that something I just put out, it's a current song, was selected and rose to the level of being worthy. So that made me feel really good. Again, this is one of those songs where I just wanted to write a song about ink, you know, that kind of, you know, played into my, what's it called? Building a brand, into my brand.
Yeah.
So I just, I don't know, just the theme started to come up. And again, ironically, if you listen to the lyrics of the first song, Crooked, and the lyrics of Ink, they both start out talking about a dark mind. So I guess there's a little bit of a ribbon going through the record, which there always is themes throughout my songs that, you know, there's darkness, but there's always light in the end. And I hope that comes through.
Oh, that's awesome. That is fantastic. Would you say that that kind of generally describes like your vibe or like your style or your genre, that there's some dark subjects, but there's always like that kind of like ribbon of hope or light that connects all of your songs?
Seemingly so. It's not something I do purposely. It's just what I'm drawn to. And, I'm learning lately that, I've always been one to like go to the dark corners of my mind because I'm a very like creative, visual kind of person. And I even wrote a song in the very beginning called Jack Benyak, a made up name. I was actually laying on the floor of my son's room waiting for him to go to sleep. And in the darkness on the floor, I wrote this whole song in my head about this guy who had a heart attack, basically just by thinking of something so traumatic that it gave him a heart attack. And I've learned in the recent years that that stuff can really like affect you. So now I'm trying to be a little bit more, just not go to those dark corners so much and just maybe not take them so literal. But as far as writing goes, I don't know. The sad songs have always helped me through tough times. So I've always been one to kind of be drawn to the down tempo, sadder songs.
Gotcha.
And that's in my listening, and I guess also in my writing.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you're, I guess, deciding on going through the creative process of maybe this is a good idea for a song. Sometimes those ideas are things that we would never think of, just subjects that we would never even think of unless we were maybe entertaining them as an idea for a song or some type of creative outlet. So, I totally agree with you. And this being October, Halloween coming up, I have a feeling that lots of us songwriters might be kind of exploring that as we get closer to Halloween, which would be pretty cool. Okay, let's take a listen to another song off of Jude's album. And this next one is going to be called Mind Open. Let's take a listen.
What would you do? What would you say? How would you feel if I felt the other way? Would you be mad? Blinded by rage? Or would you understand? Could we engage in meaningful conversation? In meaningful conversation, we'll do our best to understand both sides. Maybe we'll let go of some of that foolish pride. How would you feel? What would it mean if we found out we were on the same team? Would you be glad a weight lifted off? Or would you still be sad? It's never enough. It's so very tough sometimes to find meaningful conversation. Meaningful conversation. We'll make a point to look at it from both sides, and we'll have to let go. Of our foolish pride.
Yeah, that's a very, very cool song, man. I really like the harmonica on it, and that's an instrument that I've always, wanted to play. My grandpa used to play harmonica, and yeah, it sounds really good, man. It fits great with the whole vibe of that song. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm not really sure like how to play harmonica. I have this set, and each one has its own key, I guess that it's in. Um, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And like you said, it really worked on that song. Thank you. I love that song. I didn't think it was worthy in terms of like the audio, but the message I think is so strong and so important to me. And so for that reason, I let it go. I was a little unsure about it. Mike really felt it was a strong song and needed to be on the record, and I trusted him in that. It was worthy enough.
Awesome, man. Well, I think it was definitely worthy, and I'm glad that it made it on the album. It's a great song, man. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Um, let's talk a little bit about your creative process, like what inspires you to write, and just kind of how you go about putting songs together. I know that process can be really different for everybody, but I think fellow songwriters and folks that are sharing their music on social media. It's an important thing to discuss because we're all so different. We learn and grow from each other, So what can you tell us about your creative process?
Well, let me start with inspiration because I think that's so important. And I don't know how to say this. I got to be, I guess, careful in how I say this. That I'm so inspired by what I hear on the radio, and I guess that means I'm not as inspired by artists in the community. I mean, I am in terms of what I'm seeing being the production, like how they're. I don't know how people do it with families and with we only have one child, but I know there are folks out there with multiple kids, putting out a song every other week or something. That I'm very inspired by that. But the actual content, I'm really inspired by. As you know, I'm a big fan of Wilco and other artists out there. And all through my life, whether it was music, my parents were playing the Beatles at home or Bob Dylan, or I think I've been ingrained with, great musical tastes from my folks and my older brother. And so that's really what inspires me to kind of create my own music. I'll hear a song on the radio and say, I want to write something like that. So that's where a lot of inspiration comes from. I do have a group on Facebook called the Song Chamber, which is about sharing those types of artists that are not in our DIY community, but out there on the radio. And that can be a little bit of a gray line there. But so much of my inspiration comes from that end of things that I think it's important to kind of share those songs, whether they be an old classic that you grew up with or a song that just came out last week. So often I hear there's not good music being made anymore, for people that are stuck in the classics of the 70s. But that's so untrue. There's great music being made all the time by new bands and new artists. So, that's not much about the process. That's more about the inspiration. But that's a big part of it. You really need that spark to kind of get you up off your ass and doing it.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you completely. I tend to, once I hear, I guess, new music from new artists, like you said, ones that have maybe made it on the radio or are streaming their music, I tend to kind of go in really deep and I just obsess about that particular artist for a good while. And my kids make fun of me. I've got 3 kids. They make fun of me because I go in deep with these new artists. And, like right now I'm obsessing about Dayglow, who's been around for a few years, but is a younger artist, and I'm just really like studying his music and I'm pretty much obsessed, Silver Sun Pickups is another one that I'm really into them, and Muse. They've been around for a while, but but we all kind of take our inspirations from different artists or groups or whatever, and I think whatever it takes, to get that spark going. Another thing that that you mentioned was, within the community, what inspires us within the community, folks that maybe they have really busy lives, but they are constantly putting something out there. And I know for myself, that's a bit of a struggle because, okay, we're all busy. Let's just say that. But the perfectionist in me doesn't want to share something unless I feel like it's ready, like it sounds good, And I think that's, on my own end of things, I think that's a little bit of a shortcoming, because I always tell people, you know what, it doesn't really matter what it sounds like. Just put it out there, get some feedback, and be glad that you're sharing it with somebody, and somebody out there is willing to listen and offer you help and stuff. So I guess I have to take my own advice in that light, but that's really cool. Have you ever had, like an issue where, oh man, I maybe a writer's block, or maybe you've kind of hit that wall where you're trying to go through the process, but it's just not working out for you? Have you ever experienced that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've had that several times. Not so much in a writer's block. I've thought about writer's block, but I try not to obsess over it or get too concerned with it. I always have faith that something will come if it's meant to come. But there's been several instances, even where I've tried to force a collaboration and it's just not working out. I'll put the time in and I'll share back what I did, just so the other person can kind of hear. But we both agree that, all right, well, that's cool, but it's not really worth moving forward with. And so often we hear we grow and we learn by failing. So I try not to get too broken down by those instances where that happens, and it's happened several times.
Awesome. Yeah, it's hit me a couple of times. Particularly, I think particularly in the moments where I probably have the most I want to share and the most I want to put out there, but hey, I guess that's Murphy's Law, right?
Right. That's interesting. In the beginning, it didn't matter if I thought the song wasn't that great of a song. I wanted to have something to produce and to get better at production. So I would follow through with even the cheesiest idea, just so I'd have some song to work on production. I guess as I've built up a backlog of things that need to be finished, I'm not as, like you said, I'm maybe being a little more patient and trying to get it more to a complete state before I share it, which has held me back.
Totally relate. Well, speaking of sharing, let's go ahead and move on to our next song selection, Bird on Fire.
Bird's on fire. We watched it spiral as it fell from out of the sky. It made you sad, a square-shaped tear fell in pairs from both of your eyes. Siren is sounding out across the forest tonight. A cloud rolls in, its digital proud, in rhythm with the red blinking light. A bird's on fire. Watched it spiral as it fell from out of the sky. It made you sad, a square-shaped tear fell in pairs from both of your eyes. Birds on fire.
All right, and we are back. All right, I've got to say, um, I mean, maybe I'm not really supposed to say this, but I've got to say, probably out of all the tracks on the album, for me, that one is my favorite. Um, and I know you did some collaborating on that song. I know there's a couple of create, record, release buddies that are that are featured on that song. I have a ton of questions about that song, and then also about I guess your collaborative process. So first of all, I guess on that song, man, I really liked. I've got this little bit of an obsession with pitch shifting pedals. So I heard that there's some guitar stuff going on where you got some pitch shifting going on. Now, is that a plugin? Was that one of your collaborators? Like, how did you incorporate that? I really like that sound. So like immediately I'm like drawn in. Just forget about the lyrics. Just musically, I'm drawn in because that's a sound I really like. Tell us a little bit about that.
That guitar riff is actually a loop, and the effect that you're hearing is me doing like a quick speed up. In Logic, you can kind of do a fade in or a fade out, and you can turn those fade ins to speed ups, and you can turn the fade outs to slow downs.
Wow.
So I use that quite often in a lot of my music. Ron Ward is doing the lead guitar. However, that one riff is a loop that I had in the song before I got Ron to do the lead guitar work. Ron thinks I turned his guitar backwards and I did all kinds of stuff with it, which I did, but I didn't reverse his guitar. I do those speed ups at the beginning of his riffs, and I might do the slow downs, but I don't think I reversed it in this song. But the one that you're hearing is probably the loop that I have in there.
That is awesome. And speaking about Ron, I don't know if you're watching, but Ron is one of the moderators for Create, Record, Release. He's got his own show. There we go. Yep, I was just going to say. And I don't know if you heard it, Jude, but Ron's got a song that he put out for Songtember that is just awesome. Ron's got a great voice. He's an excellent guitarist, and I love the way he sings. And did I hear some of Ron's vocals on that song as well?
No, no, that's Jerry Marsh doing
Okay.
backing vocals. And when I wrote that song and I recorded my portion of it, I was just so proud of myself. It's still my favorite song. Again, not even talking about the lyrics, but just sonically. And sonically, I thought, boy, Jerry Marsh would be great on this. And, I didn't know him that well, but I knew his style. And for some reason, I thought that song would be perfect for him. And I shared it in a group, and he jumped on it right away and said, I think I could put some stuff. And so I sent him the track, and when I heard back what he added with his backing vocals, he added some pads, keys, maybe some piano. I was just blown away. He took it to a song that I was already proud of and really excited about. He took it to a level that was just, and I was just, and so then we got Ron Ward to play the lead guitar. I got David Asher to do the main production, and he added his bass work, which was excellent. And it's just a song I'm so proud of. I could have never done it by myself. And it's just, sometimes I think the universe just comes together. And sometimes, like I said, I did kind of have Jerry planned, but the fact that he jumped on it and what he did had nothing to do with me, really. But it's just amazing how it came together. And thank you for saying it's your favorite, because it's my favorite as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. And Jerry is from the Logic Newbies group.
Correct.
And that's how I came to know Jerry also through that group, and his willingness, wanting to help others kind of learn about Logic Pro and everything. And you're right, he's got his own style, his own vibe going. And I think you have selected just a perfect collaborative, group to put that song just to the level that it is now. I mean, that's just fantastic. Is there any other artists, friends or, shoot for the stars artists, or maybe just friends that you maybe want to collaborate with in the future? Anything that we can look forward to in the future from you?
I would love to collaborate with Clayton Von Kluge. We've been trying to. He sent me some tracks, and it's just, I think it's at a point where it's more me about just having the time to like sit down with things. But I would love to make a track with him. I would love to make a track with a gentleman named, well, he goes by several names, but Glitch is one of them. Dark Nut. Mark Trail is just, he's more of a rapper. But I would love to get together with him. Oh, and Scott Borthwick, who, they're different ends of the spectrum, but he's just such a great musician and more of a down home type style with the blues. And we've tried, again, we've gone back and forth with a few things, but nothing that's been, okay, let's take this to the next level and make it a song. But we'll see. You never know.
Awesome.
You and I worked together on one of my tracks. You did some production for a song called The Winds of Change, I think it was, which is, I love that song, and you did a great job with the production. And I kind of stopped short on my the people that have inspired me. Certainly you and John from the Songspark group. Like I said, it's been almost 7 years now. Very encouraging, and no doubt are a big part of what's kept me going. So thank you guys for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think collaboration is sometimes like, not only is it fun to work with somebody else, get their perspective, the communication back and forth, and you can really take, like you said, like a good idea for a song and really turn it into not just a good song, but a great song, and I think when you're working with the right people, that is just, it's a no-brainer. You should really do it. For me, like I really want to, I want to track drums for people. I've got this drum set. I've got all the gear now. I've got my studio set up and stuff like that. So hopefully we get that rolling in the near future for myself. But this is a winning. The song is just, it's great. Everything about it is great, and everybody's contributions to it were fantastic. So, okay, let's move on to another song, and this next one is going to be called Prowl. All right, and we are back with Jude. All right, fantastic. Okay, Jude, so since going from, that 13-year-old kid who's just starting out on guitar, talking about your influences and your supporters, getting started, basically now, kind of fast forward, you released your first album here, and now you've gone from being this hobbyist kind of noodler in music, right? To now, I'm going to say it, you're an artist. Now you're like an official artist with a release that's shared with the world, right? Like this is it's just amazing, right? So this is crazy. Like in the old days, bands or artists, we would gig, we would try to build up our reputation, through live performance or something like that. Right then, we put a little bit of cash together. We try to go into a studio, and who knows? Maybe at that point, the dream was, oh, we're going to get a record deal, and all of this stuff, right? And now with technology and just changes to the affordability of gear, recording equipment, computers, right? All this other stuff. Like now, that dream is within grasp of a lot more people, So my opinion, this is a very interesting time to be a musician, to be involved with, music and just the whole thing. It's an interesting time in music history. What's your take on today's music industry? What do you think about it?
I don't know what to think about it. It's so funny, you say you're an artist. I've always been confident in being able to call myself an artist, even before the record came out. I was never confident in being able to call myself a musician, just because of, I don't know. I guess if you have a guitar and you play the guitar, are you a musician? Even writing songs and producing songs and putting out songs, I couldn't really call myself a musician. I don't know. I guess I can now. I don't know. I'm a designer. I work for a furniture company. I have this album out now, and yes, I'm on streaming platforms. So I guess I'm out there. I have an extra CD that I plan on sending to the local radio station, which is listener supported, WXPN, out of the University of Pennsylvania. I haven't come up with that letter that accompanies the CD that gets them to want to play that. And I don't have a ton of confidence that they will. To me, that would be the ultimate next goal, is to hear myself on the radio. And, I try to be positive about it. It's not a make or break thing. I don't know. You asked me about the music industry. That's too much business for me. It's got to be art. You got to have it in your heart. I mean, once you start looking at the dollars and cents and thinking of it as an industry, F that, man. I don't. To me, that's when I'll stop. Probably. I don't know. I don't know. That it's not for me.
It's interesting how being thought of or being referred to as an artist can sometimes, or a musician, right? Like how it kind of changes the expectations we put on our own selves, So I think that's definitely a very valid viewpoint. I know, like for me, I just wanted something to share. I felt like maybe my songs could reach someone and maybe help somebody through a tough time, or maybe there's something about my music that maybe just connects with someone. Maybe they like it in some way. Maybe it brightens their day, or maybe, as we said earlier, maybe like sometimes we want to feel, we want to feel sad, and we want to feel that somebody else feels that same kind of sadness or heartache, and it's that can bring people together, so we all do it for different reasons. And I think that, you've got a great head on your shoulders, and I think you interact very well with the people that are in the social media groups that you share your music with. You always are willing to listen and lend some feedback, and that is returned in kind, So I think that you're doing everything right, and I think you should just keep doing it. Just keep doing it the way that you're doing it, and I think you got to feel really good about that.
Thanks, man.
Oh,
Appreciate
absolutely, absolutely. Let's take a listen to another song. This one is called "Woke." Let's take a listen.
straighten out your facts, my friends. Learn where truly at. It's got nothing to do with all the things you're saying that it does. Stop sleepwalking through the past. Wake up and learn what it means to be woke. Straighten out your facts, my friends. Learn where truly at. It's got nothing to do with all the things you're saying that it does. Stop sleepwalking through the past. Wake up and learn what it means to be woke. Get your head out of the sand.
All right, we are back with Jude after listening to the 6th track on his album called Woke. All right, and back to Jude. Jude, what can you tell us a little bit about how this song came together?
Sure. This came together because I was feeling frustrated by the fact that I felt like that term, woke, was being hijacked and used without getting too political about it. It's really about, for me, terminology. It was just being used the wrong way, and almost in a hypocritical way, but where that term to me, and maybe it means different things to everybody. And, I tried pretty hard to not get that song on the album because I felt like maybe it was a little bit too polarizing. And as much as I want to bring those types of issues to the forefront so that we can all have a meaningful conversation about them and keep an open mind, I was just a little concerned. But everyone, Mike and Tobias, who plays the lead guitar on that song with his excellent, I called them guitar like pyrotechnics, both reassured me that it needs to be on the album. And I put a lot of trust in that. I'm very proud of the song. But I may have lost that battle, and the new meaning of that word might be something completely different now. And that's fine. I like when my music kind of, it captures a place in time. And so that's cool. A couple of years from now, it may be completely out of date, but it captured that point in time where, that word just got taken over and now it means something completely different. And that happens over time, right? Words change their meanings. But to me, I felt like I needed to take a stance on that and just say, like, this isn't what it means at all. Like, it shouldn't be getting a bad rap. Why is it a bad thing to be aware of some possible injustices in the world or whatever it may be? I think it just means, like, do your own research and just don't believe everything you hear, kind of thing. It can mean several different things, but I think sonically it fits in with the album, and I'm glad that I put the trust in the people around me to keep it on.
I am personally very glad that the album, or that the album includes that song. I do remember when you were first, I don't want to say like demoing that song, but you were first writing that song, and we had a conversation or a couple of conversations about, I don't know, if I should do it or if I should call it this or if I should change the lyrics or whatever. I'm glad that you stuck with it. I'm glad that you did it because yes, songs are a little snapshot, right? A little picture of where we are in that place and time. And I will tell you this, I haven't shared this with you yet, but that is my daughter's favorite song off of your album. She really connected with that one. And we listened to your album when we were driving back and forth when we were moving her into college. And she's like, Dad, I really like this one. I'm like, okay, I'll make sure I tell him. So she really enjoyed that song, and it spoke to her very much. So I'm glad it's on there. She's glad it's on there, and I'm sure a lot of people are glad it's on there.
She's going to make me cry on like live TV. No, that just the fact that she even had an option to pick her favorite song, listening to my music, that just blows my mind. So please thank her from the bottom of my heart, and thank you for exposing her to my music. That's incredible.
Oh, absolutely, man. All right, Jude, I'm going to ask you a couple of really tough questions now. I hate it when people ask me these questions, but here we go. We're doing it anyway. So, Jude, what is next for you? Right? You've this is a multi-year. Some old songs, some new songs. It's all been kind of pulled together, and now you've got this thing that you've created, this awesome thing. It's shared. It's sort of like, okay, I finally did this thing that maybe I always wanted to do, or maybe I didn't know I wanted to do it, and I just did it. So now it's done. What's next? Where do you see yourself going after this?
That's a great question, really. It's one of those things where to put it up on DistroKid or to put it out there was so easy. The hardest parts for me were the little minute details on the record cover. What does the record cover look like? It's basically my logo with like some space dust behind it. Well, that space dust took me hours and hours of going through different versions of that space dust. Artistically and visually, that stuff is very important to me. So I guess I'm trying to answer with there could be another album coming out right away because it was I think next time it'll be much easier. It's almost like your first child, right? Like the next one is so much easier. But at the same time, I could see it never happening again because I did it. It's done. You're right. I've always wanted to put out an album and I've done it. So now I don't know that I need to do it again. I might, but what I've been practicing lately is playing live. And an open mic night, something like that, like getting back together, jamming with friends. A couple of my son's friends' fathers play music, play drums, and we've gotten together and we've jammed. And even when I'm home alone in my room by myself, I cannot play through a song without messing up. And there's no audience watching me to make me nervous. So I don't know if I'll ever get to that point where I can go out and play an open mic night live without messing up and being able to shrug off that mess up and keep going and finish the song. Maybe I need to stop thinking so insecurely about it, but that's where I'm at. I bought a PA system, a small little JBL PA, and I'm trying to. I recently had a little jam session party where people came over, and it was like, we're not playing songs, we're just going to jam, and that's what it was, kind of, and it was great. It was fun. We did it outside. I wished I was a little better, but it was great. It was fun. Everyone had fun. So that's really my next step, is to just try and get better at playing in a live setting, whether it's just jamming or whether it's a couple songs straight through, whether they're cover songs. I'm not sure, but that's what I've been working on the last several months. In addition to still writing songs and constantly strumming, but just not as much recording and production.
Fantastic. That is awesome, man. I know I've got a little group of guys that I get together with. We've got a little cover band, totally different from my own original music stuff that I do, but it's sort of like a different itch that we scratch, And
you play out?
Yeah, we do. We do like private parties and festivals, things like that. So it's not like we're we're headlining any big stadiums or anything like that, but it's fun. And I guess it does two things, right? It hones our skills in maybe a little bit of a different way. So we get comfortable playing under different circumstances, and it's good practice, right? But bottom line, it's just fun. It's just fun in a different way, because I think coming down here and recording and playing around with my amps and pedals and all that stuff, that's fun. But this is a different kind of fun, and I don't know. It's just, who doesn't want to have fun,
Right. Absolutely.
So I guess as a sort of other side of the coin here, we've talked about the fun that goes along with these types of pursuits and everything like that. Have you ever experienced any downsides? Like, is there any issues with like the balance of a personal life and your music life? Do you have any issues with finding that balance between being, a husband and a father and somebody who works with these things that we want to do that are just fun? Do you have any issues with that balance?
That is the bane of my existence, honestly. All through the day, and I do work from home most of the week. 2 days out of the week I go into Philadelphia and work at the office, but otherwise I'm up here in my office, and my home studio is right behind my office. Actually, my office is right behind me right now. But I never have that when I'm in work mode. It's like I can't go make music even on my lunch hour. I need to have like a set amount of time, and my studio is not a room. It's basically a portion of my loft space, so it's open to the rest of my house. And even if I'm just in my bedroom where I do a lot of writing and just kind of vetting out songs before I bring them to the studio, I'm singing under my breath because I'm so insecure about singing in front of people. That includes my wife. So I need an empty house to be able to sing out with that confidence. Otherwise, and that's fine for working on a song and, trying to suss it out. But when I get to the studio and I'm actually singing out, it's a whole completely different, it sounds different, it feels different, and it's difficult. I used to do it after they went to sleep, and I just cannot do that anymore. It kills me. I just can't stay up, those hours anymore. So it's rare that I'll get an empty house to do those recording sessions, but I'm always waiting for that moment. And it may never come, or like I said, it gets to the end of the night where I can do it, but I don't have the energy now because I'm exhausted. And you need to have a certain level of energy to kind of get in there and do it right. So it's a very big frustration. And my wife is great about giving me the time, but at the same time, it's not at the top of her list where it might be mine. So it's difficult. It's very difficult. But again, I say we only have one child. So how do these other folks that have multiple kids maybe do multiple volunteering, and have a day job, and they're killing it? So I have no excuses. It's just, we all have our own life that we try to fit this stuff in and around, and it's just a matter of making time for it.
I completely can relate to everything you said. I too, I guess, in the past, I think most of my music was probably recorded at night. Kids are asleep. The dog is quiet, hopefully. And that just seemed to be the time. But now, I'm a little older and I don't have the same kind of energy at night that I used to. I'm more of an early morning person. So that's fine for acoustic, or if I'm doing stuff in the box, that's fine too. But if I'm going to be turning on the amps, or if I'm going to be recording drums or something like that, people live here. That's my wife's favorite thing to say when I'm always like, guys, I'm going to be tracking some drums for somebody. And, I'd appreciate it if you guys can, for the next like 5 minutes or so, if you could just stay quiet. And they're like, people live here, It's just
That's great.
It's just a fact, So I think that's partly, in the old days, if you wanted to record something, you go to a studio where it's treated, it's soundproof. You won't have those types of issues, coming up, right? But most of us in these groups, right, Facebook groups and whatnot, these song communities, we're all in it together. We're all kind of facing the same kinds of issues, and it's just part of life, I wouldn't trade, even though this is something that's very important to me, the music creation, everything. It's more important to me to spend time with my kids and my family and my wife and my dog and all that. So we just have to navigate those waters and make the best of it. Okay, it's time for another break. We're going to listen to another track off of Jude's album. This one is called I Don't Like You Anymore.
The way you've been treating me lately, I don't like the way you dress me down in front of your friends. I don't like the things you've been saying, baby. I don't really like you anymore. I don't like the way you pull my hair. I never told you that I like it there when you pull that shit. I don't like the things you've been doing in bed. I don't like you anymore. The way things have been going down, I'm always here and you're never around when I need you most. I don't like the way you've been going on. You're a ticking time bomb, always ready to blow right up on me.
All right. That was I Don't Like You Anymore off of Jude's release Tentacles. All right. And we are back to our interview. All right, Jude. Couple of questions for you that are just fun little questions that are sort of like hypothetical, right? So if you could have, let's just say, like, if you could have like a dinner hour, share a meal with one of your, I don't know, favorite musicians or something like that, any musician, right? Alive, dead, etc. Who would that be? And why would you pick them? Tell us about that.
I think it would be Damon Albarn of Gorillaz. I don't know if you know much about him. And not that he's my favorite musician, but I think in terms of what I would want to be as a producer, as a musician, it would be along those lines where it's more of a collaborative and he's constantly bringing in different artists, which constantly changes the sound, although it always maintains that, to me, maintains that Gorillaz sound. The genres are all over the place, and it's just very creative how he does things, mixing rap artists with more of a singer-songwriter type of sound when he sings, or acoustic with electronic, and those types of juxtapositions of music. I really love that. So I'd love to pick his brain. Maybe an hour with Jeff Tweedy would be a little too overwhelming for me, and I'd be too starstruck, but I think I could get a lot done with Damon.
That is awesome. Have you ever met any of your musical heroes? Like, have you ever, like, even in passing or, anything like that, have you ever interacted with them in any way?
Just like quick meet and greets where you have a whole line behind you and, maybe you think of something you're going to say, but there's really never been any kind of like conversation. I don't know if you know who Steve Forbert is. He's like a singer-songwriter from the 70s, but had a resurgence in the 90s. And there was a concert where he was opening up, or maybe Guthrie, not Woody Guthrie, but his son, Arlo Guthrie, was opening up. And Steve Forbert had a voice problem where he couldn't sing. So Arlo ended up doing both sets. But in the break, he did like a photo shoot, and so I got in line, and he wrote on my ticket "Complications Throat-Wise," which he has a song called "Complications." So that was the only time that I had like an interesting interaction with someone. Not that he's one of my heroes, but I certainly was big into him back in the '90s as a singer-songwriter.
That is awesome. My wife. Okay, now I know this is going to sound crazy. Her favorite band of all time is U2. Okay, she loves U2. We've seen multiple concerts. We travel to see them, and the whole thing. If you get an opportunity to meet one of your musical heroes like once, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, right? She has actually met the band multiple times, multiple times. And it's sort of like, kind of knowing how to put yourself in the situation where you might bump into them, you might run into them. And if you do that enough times, which we have, right? It's amazing, So she's had the opportunity multiple times to tell them, hey, your music means a lot to me. It's been the soundtrack of my life. It's helped me through this and that. And, if you can just think about how humbling that is, if somebody were to tell you that, like, hey, Jude, thank you so much for this song, So I know that artists, at sometimes maybe it might be a little bit invasive to their personal lives, maybe. But given the fact that their music has touched so many lives and so many people in so many ways. I know that's appreciated to hear. So I think it's great that you were able to some capacity meet some of your musical heroes and have had that interaction with them. I think that's just as important for the fan as it is for the artist. You know, it's a kind of a special bond, you know.
That's amazing.
One more quick question, and we'll take another listen. What is the best piece of musical advice you've ever received? I told you I was going to ask the tough questions.
I think it really is to like try not to double track my vocals too much. I do that as a crutch because I'm insecure about my vocals, and I feel like if I layer them and there's 3 or 4 of them, then it's just not one of them all by themselves, you know. But most often when I follow that advice, it's a better product. And I know other artists who do the same thing, and I feel the same about them. I mean, it's very cool. It's a neat effect, but maybe not on every song. You know, try not to do that on every song. And it's something I need to constantly remind myself of. And I'm sure I've gotten better advice, but that's the one that constantly sticks with me and I constantly need to come back to.
Gotcha. All right. We're going to take another listen off of Jude's album. And this next song is called Against the Current. Let's take a listen.
What I'm about to do. I'm coming after you.
All right, and we are back. All right, Jude, I've got so many questions for you about that song. I guess the first question that I have for you is, what inspired that song, both like lyrically and like musically? Some of your choices musically. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Sure, that was a SongSpark prompt that was to use some non-musical sound as I think it was specific as the rhythm of the song. And so I thought of the paddling theme and how it would be cool to kind of use the paddle of a boat, kayak, or canoe, and maybe pan the paddle left to right. So if you listen with headphones, it's easier to hear that that paddling is somewhat in rhythm with the song, and each paddle stroke pans left and right as it would if you were sitting in the boat. And so then the theme, the lyrical theme, and by the way, there's lots of atmospheric sounds. You'll hear the loon, and thank you, by the way, for waiting for that last loon sound. I really appreciate your patience with these long outros that my music always has. It's important to me to hear that last note or whatever it may be. So thank you for doing that. But there's also like, and I don't know if you're familiar with paddling, but you always hear like the knocking of like the paddle when you get in the boat. So I tried to incorporate those sounds to kind of really give you that immersive feeling as if you're in the boat or on the journey. And I also tried to, I don't know if I did this intentionally, but I kind of like the way you're not sure if this guy is going to help someone or going to hurt someone. And I think if you really listen to the lyrics, it's probably the latter, but you don't know that. And, you know, the song ends before he gets to the destination anyway. But I really like that mysterious quality about it. And just to bring up my buddy Tobias H. Reese, he loved this song. And I think it was his love for this song that made me fight for it to be on the album. Maybe there were too many like odd sonic sounds. Mike Haggith was not reluctant, but it wasn't one of his choices. But it was something that I pushed for, and basically because Tobias loved it so much. And you know, whenever someone falls in love with one of my tracks, it makes me feel justified that, you know, it wasn't just me. It connects with someone else. And you mentioned that earlier on that, you know, and I've had this with another one of my songs. It was called Corporate Uniform, because we used to have to wear a shirt and tie to work. That's since been, but that song I thought was kind of like a novelty song that, you know, like I said, I followed through. I shared it with my buddies, and my cousin he's a nurse, so he always has to wear scrubs. So that song really connected with him. And that point I said, you know what, it's not really about me, it's about the listener. And I do believe music is a collaboration between the artist and the listener, or the song and the listener. And so, you know, it's up to each listener to kind of find what they love about the track. And it's just interesting in that way that you just have to be open, because you never know really what people are going to love. Sometimes I have a song that I think is a complete winner and it gets like crickets, you know, so you never know.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head with your answer there. Um, so just because I've got the opportunity here. I've got you with me here. I'm going to nerd and geek out on you here. So first of all, I know just from talking with you in the past, I know that you're an avid kayaker, and you take a journey around your property pretty often, right? This is something you've been doing for a long time. So my in-laws, my wife's parents have a house in Michigan on a lake, and one of my favorite things to do, summer activity, is to kayak around this little lake, right? So I enjoy kayaking as well. Now, I have to ask you this. How did you record the sound of your kayak, the water, right? Because it seems in the recording it's pretty isolated, it's pretty clear. Did you use any special kind of microphone? Did you just use your phone? Like, how did you go about getting that? And were you scared that you were going to drop something in the water? Because I know even if I take my phone and my AirPods with me, I'm so phobic about, like, you know, I don't want to drop this in the water, because I did lose a wedding ring in
Oh
the
no.
lake once, right? I was
Oh,
tubing, and yeah, so I learned the hard way, so to speak. But how did you get that recorded so well? I'm so curious.
I don't know if I should give away my secret here. It's none of it is recorded. It's all I think it's a YouTube video of someone paddling.
Okay.
And so I don't know how to get that audio off, so I probably just recorded it with my phone and then played that through the microphone through my phone speaker or something like that, which is even more surprising that it sounds so clear.
Wow.
But none of that is recorded per se of the actual. It's just I found videos or sounds that sounded like that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, well that definitely works, man. Like it sounds so great, and especially like you said, like that the rhythm of the strokes, right? And how it kind of moves from left to right. It's got this very like swirling but calming, just like I don't know, there's just a comfortable rhythm to it. I think that's just so amazing that you were able to incorporate that into just the pulse of the song. It's so good. I love that about that song. It's just I don't know. It's one of my favorite things about that track. Um, the other thing is, I heard some sounds of I think they were maybe crickets or something, some wildlife maybe, all again added to kind of put more of a impact on the listener. Were those sounds also ones that you kind of stumbled upon and you thought, man, this would be like perfect if I, were there any sounds that were like recorded from your house or anything like that from the environment outside your house? Did you kind of work them all in using that same method?
I did. I did. It's funny that you bring that up because I have a song that I'm working on right now called Magic Pond. That I did go out at night with my phone, and we live on the creek, so there's tons of crickets and tree frogs and that whole thing, and it sounds really good in the song. I haven't released that song yet, but in this case, it was much like the paddling sounds, where I think I knew I wanted to hear a loon because we go to Maine a lot, and those loons are awesome when you're paddling around them and hearing them echo at night through the canyons or whatever over the water. So I knew I wanted to hear that sound, and once I found the right sound to bring in, it sounded exactly like I envisioned it. So it worked out really well. But those were all sounds that I found online. Again, whether they were loops or in most cases probably a video that I stole the audio from.
Awesome, man.
And if you say kayaking, that knocking sound. Like I'll hear, and it's just the paddle banging against the boat, because it happens. But I'll hear that sound and I'll know someone's coming up the creek. Like
Yep.
that's a kayaker or a canoe, and it's that banging of the paddle against the boat. So it's a specific sound that if you know it, you know it.
So this is related to kayaking, not necessarily music, but we've got these. I don't know if we can call them a kayak because it's not. It's not something that you sit in. It's something you sit on. It's more like a one man. I don't want to call it like a raft, but there's no way to hit the side of it if you're on it. You just row over it.
Okay.
I'm not very good at those yet because I like to be sitting down inside something when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But I'll have to experiment with that, and who knows, that may eliminate that sound of that knocking like you talked about. If you want to get just the strokes in there of
Right.
the oars hitting the water. But Jude, I want to thank you very, very much for this opportunity to talk about your album, about your music. I mean, just thank you so much for allowing me to conduct this interview and share your music with some of the social media groups that we're both a part of. I'm so proud of you, of just your efforts over the years, and the feedback that you also give other musicians and other artists. It's just you're just a great guy, and I'm very proud of your album release. I'm proud to call you my friend. Do you have any parting words for our audience before we wrap things up?
Oh man, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your musical friendship over the years, and um, you mentioned that I give advice. I feel like I haven't done that as much over the last several years, and I really want to try and um, give back a lot more than I have been recently. But like you said, it's difficult, especially the age that my son's at now. When he was younger, it was a lot easier for me to do, things. But right now, I'm just enjoying, this time with him. But, I hope to be giving back to the community more. But I appreciate you saying that. I hope that I've given back, because I've certainly received a lot. And I'm so grateful for all the support and the love that I've received over the years. And you're certainly one of them. So I really appreciate you doing that and doing this interview. This really means a lot to me.
Well, it means a lot to all of us to have you share your music with us, and again to be those friendly ears, and with the giving of the feedback and everything. So it's a mutual thing, and I'm just really proud of you, man.
Thanks so much.
Every song on here is great, and I'm just really excited for you, and I'm excited to share it with a bunch of people. So we're going to leave it at that for now. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to listen to one more track from June. The last one on the album is called Waste It. And we're going to go ahead and cue that up right now. And once again, Jude, thanks for being with us. And we'll look forward to hearing more songs from you hopefully soon.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks.
Most of my worries are someone else's. Most of my concerns are not my own. Most of my fears been spent on things that never turn true. Most of my time's been spent on you. Most of my time, I gladly waste it with you. Most of my time, and all the things we won't do. Ooh, wasted with you. Most of my thoughts, they go racing down dead ends. Most of my ideas go up in smoke. Most of the time, we're just waiting for something to happen. Most of the time, this life's a joke. Most of the time, just sitting around with you. Most of the time, doing the thing that we do. Ooh, wasted with you. Most of our life, we've been playing against the stacked hand. Some of the time we've won a few. Most of our life has been setback after setback. Most of the time we struggle through. Most of our life, we let it slip on through. Most of our life, doing the things we don't do.